To heck with these Zoomers. Let's
I'm Chris Barnes.
Oh, Jim reports a power failure, so he's not getting started.
Okay. Chris Barnes and Bill Barnes, as part of that amorphous, ever-growing Sugarbush ski crowd. And which Bill joined eventually.
I decided to learn how to ski at age 50.
But as if you're a skier, you know that it's not always powder and blue skies, right? So one of our first adventures with Warren, or mine, this is before Bill, was our rainy New Year's weekend. And, you know, it's a big deal when you're skiers to go up and party all weekend and ski, whatever. So my friend Barb instigated, she's kind of a little bit like Warren too. So, you know, let's have a costume party. Now, if you walk into a group of people and say, let's have a costume party, most people say, oh, no. Right. Well, this crowd got into it, and Warren really got into it. So he wasn't even in the house. Right, he wasn't even in our ski house. But and the theme was you had to be dressed as a ski trail. So we had, being at Sugarbush, if you know, we had, you know, Steins dressed as a Stein, and we had Organ Grinder dressed as a real organ grinder. And then we had Warren, who was dressed as the Jester. And I do have the picture, if you'd like to see Warren in his long underwear with ribbons wrapped around. But it was, and it became such a classic of this group that I still keep this photo on my refrigerator. You just can't forget. Nothing bothered him, you know? I mean, if he's gonna look stupid, it didn't bother him. He would come over every Saturday morning, because he was indifferent, come over every Saturday morning to have breakfast with us. And then while we were getting ready to ski, he would wash the dishes, okay? We had so many broken wine glasses. I had to buy a new dishwasher. But you know what? No one cared because Warren was so entertaining, you know? And it was just willing to do everything and pitch in, you know? It was really fun. And then Bill,
One of the things everybody talked about, how he likes to make himself useful. So we sort of alternated who was going to make the sandwiches. And you can imagine what they look like coming out of the backpack at the top of that loose foundation. So Warren's got the job right there. And he's packing them all up. I said, what are the strips of salary for? Oh, I put those in for structural. Thank you.
All right. There are all these stories about Warren. He's another word that comes into my mind that describes him. It's the Renaissance man, because he could do everything. He was so creative. Well, one other part of him that relate to is he always was willing to pay it forward. Okay, that's how I know him best, because back in the early 2000s, there was an issue going on. Oh, yes, sorry about that. Thank you, Karen. There was a real issue on Lake Winnipesaukee. We have a cottage, my husband and I have a cottage on Bear Island. So, and we grew up on the lake. And as you know, Barbara and Warren have a place right next to the lake. So there was a real issue really starting to grow in the 2000s. And that was, there were more and more boats going 60, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour around the lake. And it was becoming a real problem for a lot of folks. And Warren was at a meeting that I went to as well with a local representative, New Hampshire representative named Sid Lovett. Maybe some of you know the name. And there were 5 of us there, 5 or 6 of us locals there. And he said, you know, there's this problem going on, but you know, you guys can make a difference. You could make, you know, make this happen and create speed limits if you wanted to get involved. So we kind of looked around at one another, and I think, and Warren was at that meeting, and he said, okay, you know, all right, who's gonna lead it. And I said, well, I guess it's my turn. So I got involved, and Warren was our webmaster. And this is back in the 2000s, before everyone really knew the internet and all of that. And so he was invaluable. And in today's legislative process, you can send emails and they get automatically distributed to all the reps in the House. And as you know, New Hampshire House has about 400 reps, and then the Senate has so many more. And back then, that didn't happen. So in order to get all of the communications to the reps, Warren came up with a program that actually did send the emails to all of the reps as if that person did it themselves. So that was really instrumental back in those days. So we started the effort back in 2004. It took us 7 years, but we finally got voting speed limits on Lake Winnipesaukee. And he was a big part of that effort. He, in fact, Barbara came up with the acronym WinFAPS, Winnipesaukee Family Alliance for Voting Safety. Thank you, Barbara. And she and Warren were very involved in that effort as well. We built a huge grassroots effort composed of a lot of people who really took part in that effort. And Warren was right there at a lot of our meetings, and of course, being very, very intellectual, very creative. He was always coming up with new ideas. So I just really, really value that part of him. And as you know, the lake is much safer for everyone. So we have something more to thank Warren for in today's world. So that's my part in describing Warren. And it's just so wonderful to hear all of the stories and so many ways that he's touched so many of us in so many different ways. I mean, he was really a Renaissance man. And so thank you all for making this happen. And thank you, Warren, for making our lives better.
Stand here, right? Okay. Hi, I'm Richard Perkin Carroll, and I know Barbara and Warren. And I can't remember when we first met, because we basically are Meredith people that met Meredith is supposed to be, earlier in the life. But I can tell you that we talk about coincidences. Warren always knew that I went to Cornell as well, but I preceded him. I think I'm that's a 57, so I'm 5 years roughly before him or 4 years. Anyway, we didn't overlap. It's the whole point. And yet I look at those pictures and it brings me right back. I mean, he must have been life of the party. I look at those pictures from the fall weekend. I can imagine, because I was in a fraternity as well. Many people probably don't know that at Cornell at the time, they had 52 fraternities and 12 sororities. And the interesting thing about us, now Warren, we talk about good food. I was waiting on tables at a sorority that was considered not a great sorority, but they had the best cook. So that's the type of thing, and Warren would be involved in that as well. I can remember a story, that Barbara and Warren were members of the Fitness Edge Club, which Carol and I were members of. And I remember Warren riding his bicycle up the Meredith Neck Road all the way to the club is at the roundabout in Meredith. And he's 3.5, 4 miles down the road. He's riding up these hills and he's crazy, everything like that. The bike, and he gets there and I said, Warren, what are you going to do? He's going to work out. I said, you just worked out by taking the bike ride. I said, I'm not finished yet. Now, that was, he loved doing that. And yeah, well, he did quite a workout. And he did, when he got sick, I think I felt by observation, when he couldn't do the bike riding the way he used to do the bike riding, that had an impact. I mean, he didn't show it, but I knew he didn't have that same sparkle, but he didn't let it get him down. He just went to other things. And one of the things that hasn't been mentioned, and that's his, besides his wicked sense of humor, is his community service. He served with distinction and a legacy on the Meredith Zoning Board of Adjustment. I served in the companion role, and they're a planning board, still do. Warren took his job very seriously. People want waivers for this and waivers for that, and so forth, and so on. And Warren was, he was a skeptic. He said, "What's the hardship? What's your hardship?" You know, and he could make the people squirm a little bit, but he had a value, and Sandy mentioned it with the Stevens and so forth. But we got hooked into that ourselves. I remember seeing all that coming through, and I didn't realize how much Warren contributed to that. But that's another concept, how much he played a role. But Warren was very, very astute on his role at the planning board, at the zoning board. Did a tremendous job, and you may not know that he went to a meeting only a few days before he passed. That's quite dedication. So there's another aspect of Warren that you may not have realized, and I certainly appreciate that. It's his sense of humor and companionship. Plus, Barbara and I, and to an extent, Warren have a lot of share wine, and we've shared some very wonderful times together doing that. So thank you all, and thank you.
But we're gonna have some like
Hello,
Thank you.
go ahead, drink. I'm John Kreitler and my wife Marty, sitting over here. Richard's little presentation called to mind a little story that I want to tell you in a moment, but just to put it in context, Marty and I live at least until last Tuesday, lived at 26 Lovejoy Lane, and Barbara and Warren lived at 40 Lovejoy Lane. So we were close neighbors for 10 years, 11 years, which is the time frame that we retired in up to the lake. So we had much in common, and we got to the point very early in our relationship where, because of a lot of trust on Warren's part in my case, but obvious recognition of his skills in his case, if one of us took a trip, the other would watch the house of the first person. So I can remember the first year we were there, Barbara and Warren went off skiing someplace, and their furnace shut down. And now what do? I got to go over there, get somebody and get the furnace going because it's in the middle of the winter. Well, we were able to do that, but the important part to me was Barbara would naturally fret a little bit. She didn't know me. She didn't know whether I had any skills at all to do it. But Warren had confidence that I would figure it out. If we just let it go, leave him in charge, he'll find a way. Cost you an arm and a leg, didn't it? I remember chipping ice off your roof. And vice versa. Marty and I were on a trip, and we were having a chimney built or rebuilt, and Warren became our foreman in our absence. But the story I really wanted to share with you, I have to precede it with a little more information. Besides Richard, is there anyone here of the Meredith planning, zoning, any kind of official duty like that? Anyone here? Okay, nobody's gonna get them in trouble now, right? Okay. My first introduction actually to Warren was my newspaper article. We used to live in Connecticut before we moved up here, and we would get the Meredith News sent up to us. And one February newspaper from the Meredith News had a picture on the front page of Warren cutting snow blocks, forming ice blocks, and building an igloo in his backyard. Oh, do you ever, anybody remember that? Yeah? Yeah?
We've got the picture here.
Okay, good. And my recollection is that it was kind of like a Tom Sawyer thing. He would have everyone in town eventually over enjoying helping him cut blocks and making the igloo. He was doing that stuff. the part of the story that is not quite so well known, and maybe is on the side of truth, which is close to the truth, but not really, is the igloo was built outside the setback of the neighboring home. So Warren was faced with a problem, a dilemma. He had a choice that was given to him. He could pay a hefty fine and tear the igloo down, or he could serve for 12 years. Another quick story is of people that own the boat with Warren. Sample?
Yeah, right here.
Okay. Ever had it set on fire?
No.
Well, then you're missing a treat. We had a wonderful time on there. Warren says, come on, I can't get the boat going. Could you help me? So this is his motorboat. 20 feet, 18, I don't know. Inboard, outboard. And we're down there. Can't get the thing started. He says, here, pour some gas into here. I thought he was gonna singe all the hair on his body. Okay, the igloo thing was truthy, but a great Tuesday. Thank you.
We will understand right now. Okay, I'm Marcia Bates. I'm Frank McCune. And Barbara and I go back until, let's see, we met at Bank of Boston in '74. Crane and I go back
Over 60 years.
Yeah, we've grown up on the lake together. So, and that's part of the reason why Barbara and Warren came up here, because she used to come visit my parents and up here, and they got to like it a lot. And so then when we all got married, they moved up. But anyway, we wanted to tell a story about how they met.
Yeah, I met Warren in 1986, and I think you can fill in
Right.
the
I
rest
had
of it.
just come back, I'd been overseas for 3 years and came back and thought, I gotta start meeting people. Okay, I've gotta start meeting people again. So my friend who belonged to the ski house up at Sugar Boat said, why don't you join? So I joined the ski house that Warren was in. And the first 2 weekends I met him and I thought, he's nice, he talks a lot. But, and we skied and he says, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, actually, my vacation, I'm going down to the Tortola. We're going to pick up a bareboat charter and Crane is going to be our captain. So he said, oh, I'd really like to go on that. And I said, well, I don't think we have an opening. Well, I come back and one of the gals and the boyfriend said, I'm not going. And she says, I want to sell the spot. And I'm like, well, I know this man that I met on the ski house, but I don't know him well, and he talks a lot. So we're gonna be on a boat, a 45, 50-foot boat with 6 of us, right?
6, yeah.
Don't blame me if this doesn't get along. So anyway, so he said yes, he wanted to go. So we arrive at the airport.
And American Airlines terminal, flight to San Juan or something, and there's this guy with this video camera that's about this big, middle 80s. So that's this. Warren is going to video the trip.
The whole trip.
The whole
And we're all
trip.
like, oh my God. So anyway, we get on the boat and he didn't know anybody else but me and hardly knew me. We all knew each other. And it started off and it was okay until first thing in the morning, you'd wake up and this camera would be just shooting at you. And I think Barbara was like right at her and she's like, get that away from me. We thought, oh, this isn't going to be good. We better get rid of this camera. We kept trying to talk him into like, can you put it away for a while? He put it away for a little while, but then he'd bring it out. So, I mean, we did have the whole trip video, but it was a little testy at times.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And then, he's the captain, but then Warren was trying to tell him how to sail. But, as it worked out, we thought, well, this is great. And Barbara and Warren met and they seemed to be getting along, but we thought, oh, this is just, a week in the islands and it'll be over. Yeah.
Well, that was it. They were together for the count. And, yeah, and then I think she introduced me to my husband when I came back to Bank of Boston. So it's two of us finally got married in 1990, about 3 months apart. We stood up for each other. Although Warren had to play a trick, we were out at Sun Valley is where we got married. And he decided to short sheet our bed. He said, okay, Warren. But anyway, we had a lot of good times. And then, you know, up here, he was always over helping us fix things. And whenever I was getting rid of something, he took everything I wanted to get rid of. In fact, when we were going to rebuild our house or decided to tear it down, the old camp had all this beautiful knotty pine. He says, don't tear that down. So the week before they were going to dynamite, he and Barbara came over and took all the knotty pine out of the house. And that's now in their boathouse. But he wanted to save everything, which he did. But he was fun. We had a lot of great times together.
I think I'm lucky because I don't remember ever having to prank pulled on me by Warren. So that's how Barbara and Warren met.
Yep, and we're happy to have known
Yes.
him and continue to know him. Thank you.
If I may, I just want to do a little addendum to that story. Warren walked into Logan Airport and it was about 6 a.m. I don't do well at 6 a.m., although he did. And he knew Marcia. I was standing at the counter with Marcia and he starts talking to Marcia. He's got the video camera. And then he turns it to me and he's doing his Geraldo Rivera with me. So we literally have the moment that we met. And this was, we call this the Crane Cruise video. I used to make him watch it every year, which he didn't like because he probably, doing the reviews and the editing, he probably watched that thing 50 times. And he did not need to see it again. But anyway, the other thing, Dick Gerken mentioned the Fitness Edge, and that kind of triggered something in me. Warren had an embroidery sewing machine, and he wrote programs to create designs and so forth. One of the things that he did is this shirt. We live at Fox Hill Village. I live at Fox Hill Village in Westwood. And this shirt, which he embroidered, says, Fox Hill, too small to have a village drunk, so we take turns. But what triggered me on this was a story about the Fitness Edge, which is the gym in town that many of us went to. And Warren got a blank T-shirt. In the mornings, Tammy, who was the manager of the Fitness Edge, said, you old guys, you do the same thing every day. And we've got to change up your routine. It'll be better for you if we change up your routine. So they called themselves Tammy's Old Farts Club. Warren got a blank T-shirt, and on the back of it, he, with his sewing machine, embroidered Tammy's Old Farts Club. Of course, he goes to the gym, and the other guy was saying, where did you get that? Where did you get that shirt that says Tammy's Old Farts Club? And Warren said, Tammy didn't give you one? Only gives those to people she likes.
Am I up? Okay. I see me in big, so maybe I'm up. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So anyway, I'm Bob Meisenelder, and I'm a fraternity brother. And shout out to Don Gilbert and Bruce Hugent for being there in person. And also a shout out for Sandy, because I remember when you were around our house a bit. So anyway, I met Warren in 1968 when we were pledges at Phi Kappa Tau together. I was a year ahead of him, and also, but we were in the same pledge class because they joined as freshmen and I joined as a sophomore. So anyway, just a little bit about Warren's history at Phi Kappa Tau. If there was any tomfoolery going on around the house, you can bet that Warren was a part of it. So the following stories, he may not actually have been in them, but he was probably influencing them from the side. So anyway, we heard about one EJ story about lifting his car up in the parking lot, but there's another EJ story or two. I believe that Warren was the one who jumpered the horn in EJ's car to the ignition. So when you turn, EJ got in his car and he turned on ignition, the horn blew. And then it was like, whoa, what is this? So he lifted up the hood and unhooked this wire that he didn't think was the right thing. And he got back in and restarted his car. And then he got worried that something he did was wrong and this car wouldn't work right. So the next thing he did, shut it off, open the hood, put the wire back on. So anyway, it was a real hoot or a honk. The other thing that Warren was involved in was in one of our dinners, everybody got a little saucer with a peach in it and some peach juice around it. And Warren gave EJ an egg in the same shape and size as the peach. So when EJ went to cut into it, he knew something was happening. And actually, I think, as I recall, he threw the whole thing at Warren. So what happened is there was another case where two brothers had a bet and one of them got really dirty and was in dire need of a shower. And Warren, as house manager, went and turned off the water. So there was no shower to be had. And that created a lot of consternation. So anyway, there's a lot of these fun memories. And I too was there at Barbara and Warren's wedding. So, it's fitting to offer up some insights. And, our hearts go out to Barbara, and we hope everything works out well for you in the future. Thank you.
Stopping, we should turn. Oh, no, Caroline. Please, Caroline.
No. So one of my favorite things growing up was something called inversion therapy. And it sounds strange, so you might be wondering, what is inversion therapy? Well, only one person is licensed in inversion therapy, and that was my Uncle Warren. But basically what he would do is he would grab me, Izzy, all the cousins by our ankles, throw us up in the air, and then just shake us. So if ever we were upset and if ever we had something on our mind, just grab us by the ankles and shake us. And so as all of you mentioned, Uncle Warren, he definitely was a placer. He was a trickster, lots of fun. I'd always be so excited when he came to visit, because for me, it was like definitely gonna be a party, a little freedom, get to hang out with my uncle. But also, in addition to teaching me how to play hard, how to have fun, my uncle definitely taught me how to work hard as well. And I remember for Uncle Warren, as a kid, he was one of the first adults that I actually felt like listened to me. He always challenged me, always pushed me. If I said something about what I thought or believed in, he'd actually ask me why, and he would challenge my thinking. And that really forced me to grow. And so there as well, not only do you teach me how to play hard, they taught me how to work hard. And that's, translated into my life now. And also, underlying all of it as I reflect back, I think underlying both the play hard piece and the work hard piece, what I realized is he also just really cared. And he was just very kind, because every visit that he had with us, every time he would, fly out to see us, or we would go to him, he put so much time and effort into making that visit special. And he really went always above and beyond. I remember, when I was living out in Iowa, my mom was sick, he would come and fly all the way, and there's really not much in Iowa. There's just cows and corn. It's really not much. He would come all that way from his busy life, just to spend time with me and be there for my mom, his sister, as a good brother, and then also as a good uncle and mentor. And so, amazing person, as you all know. Really glad we got to celebrate together. And remember to always balance your working hard with your play hard.
Any further thoughts? Would you guys like to, anybody have anything to say?
I could go.
Okay.
Joe Murphy. Sure. Hi, my name's Joe Murphy. I roomed with Warren in the Wilmington house. I actually worked with him at Sun Microsystems in Massachusetts, but I've had a lot of stories I could probably go through, but I'll spare you most of them. But one of them was how I met Warren. I had gone to help set up a division for Sun Microsystems on the East Coast, and my friend Gene Kovac said, "Hey, I've got this really cool guy, you could room with him." And I thought, I'm not going to room with some stranger I've never met. That's crazy. And I spent about 2 weeks in Massachusetts instead of looking for a place like I was supposed to do, working. And so at the end of the 2 weeks, I went ahead and called Gene back and said, what was that guy's name and number? And so I went out and met Warren, and I brought a big Army duffel bag full of stuff that I didn't want to bring back to California. And I said, "Hey, Warren, I just want to let you know I'm not that serious about being a roommate. But if you don't mind, I'd like to stash my stuff here." And he was, Warren, he's like, "Oh, sure, no problem, whatever, And so came back to Massachusetts, started living there. And if Barbara hadn't arrived and kicked me out, I probably still would be living there with Warren. Anyways, but Warren was an awesome roommate, and incorporated me into a lot of what was going on in the ski house, and a lot of what he had going on with a lot of the things. So, fast forward, speaking of his videography techniques and talent, when I got married in 93, Warren and Barbara came out for the wedding, and the people doing the videography said, "Hey, you should have somebody narrate and interview people." And I thought, Warren, and I'd be happy at some point if there's old videos of weddings that people want to enter in this for a contest. It produced an amazing video. Warren did just an awesome job. And even now I'll watch that video. I've watched it 50 times, like when Warren and Barbara met, but I'm not quite sure. But it was a great video. And I was honored to have Warren and Barbara out to my daughter's wedding in 2019, near the end, before all the COVID stuff hit. And I was really honored that they could be there. And thank you for arranging this Zoom meeting thing today. I had something I had already committed to, couldn't be there, and I really appreciate it. That you worked well.
Hey, Tom, I got a question. Joe? Joe, question. Is that a real background?
Yes.
There?
I'm not there right now, but that's a picture out my back window of my house in Montana.
Nice.
It looks into Glacier National Park.
Oh, sweet. Must be nice. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, so Joe has concluded his remarks. We don't have any more Zoom remarks. So what's up next is we're going to do a little bit of home video, and that will launch our breakout, meaning it's just home videos, and you can watch it. But we got a payoff for you at the end, so stay tuned. And then we'll switch to the slideshow and just hang out. And, you know, the bar is open and there's still plenty of sandwiches left. So I think that's the next step. Anybody else, any more input, any more speakers? I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you. So wonderful to see. Yes, okay, great. All right. And so let's go to our,
Ken, I just.
yeah, go ahead.
Just one second. After she's done, just one second.
You want to keep talking.
One second.
You get two.
Thank you.
I'm Joan Berg, and I just wanted to add a little aspect of Warren's life. I met him in 1977 when we were both in the Air Force, and we went to the Air Force Squadron Officer School in Montgomery, Alabama. And he was a captain and I was a young lieutenant. And we were in adjoining sections. At that time, there weren't many women there. So my section had 12 guys and me. His section had 11 men. So I became their token woman who would get invited to go out to dinner and cheer them on at sports events and all of this type thing. And at that time, 45 years ago, Warren and I became very good friends. Throughout all those years, we did many, many things together. I was at Thule, Greenland in 1982 on a remote assignment. I'd sent a Christmas card to Warren saying that I was going to be going out to Snowbird, Utah, skiing in March. And he wrote back and saying, I've never been skiing out west. I'd love to go there sometime. So in Thule, the only way you could make a phone call is 15 minutes, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning through NORAD to a phone call. So I called my girlfriend Judy in Houston, who was going to be going to Snowbird with me. And I said, call Warren Clark, tell him that you're my friend and that we're inviting him if he'd like to come ski with us. And I'll get back with you next week. And if so, you can give him all the details. So sure enough, he was ready to go. So it's his first exposure to skiing out west. Then he and Barbara came out many more years. They say, what year are you going out? They come out to Alta and we'd ski together at Snowbird or Alta. And then we had many other experiences, going to Italy, to Tuscany for a week, and another to Sicily for a week and a half. We visited back and forth. We went on his boat. He went on our boat. And so it was just an amazing thing, but he always had great stories about his Air Force experiences and how he dealt with various things. And he worked on the Cobra Day and he had Alaska things and all kinds of things that he contributed for those few years he was in the Air Force. So that's it. And he'll be dearly missed, but we kept in touch for 45 years all along. And so that's what friendships mean. So he was a forever friend and will always be a forever friend in my mind. Thank you.
One minute. First, Barbara, I want to give you my undying thanks and loyalty for everything that you've done for my brother over the last many years. Your courage and strength and loyalty was not going on unnoticed, and a testament to your character. And my greatest thanks and undying support for the rest of my life for whatever I can do for you. My brother Ken, my big brother, God bless you. You've done an amazing job. I couldn't think of a more exciting, satisfying, wonderful experience for me to be able to relive a little bit of my brother's life and hear from so many of you. So thank you so much for everything you did. I can't tell you how many hours my brother has spent on this, and being the youngest and skilled, I've done nothing. So congratulations, Ken, and thank you for a wonderful celebration, my brother. I hope that we all stay and continue to reminisce and enjoy the time together. Ken, I don't want to take your statements, but I just want to make sure we all have the opportunity to thank you publicly for everything you did.
Any producer is nothing without his talent. You guys are wonderful. You know, we're sitting here, talking about you behind your back when you're talking. And like, what an amazing group of people you are. I mean, all the wonderful stories we heard from such wonderful, intelligent, articulate, great people. I mean, that's one of the things we're going to lose now that Warren's gone. This connection now between us all is sundered. Hopefully not, right? Hopefully not. So, but the show's not over yet, right? We've got some excellent tractor videos to show you. And yeah, why don't you can you cue that, Wes, and get that going? And, for our Zoom viewers, you can watch the videos too. And what else have we got coming up? I think that's it. Huh? Oh, and the Zoom guys, we're giving you an exit out discreetly if you want, but of course, we'd love to have you stay. And if you have anything to add, call me, or we'll keep an eye on the interface. And in the meantime, we won't be so focused on this camera and this presentation anymore. I really appreciate you guys stepping on the mark. Very good, very professional presentation. I was speaking about that earlier. What else? Okay, the tour. We're going to do, I think Izzy suggests we prepared a whole video for the Zoom guys showing off a curated exhibition of Warren's work, which covers, we kept it short, don't worry. We're going to post that to you too later on in this presentation. And we'll also, we'd love to take you guys through, if you haven't had a chance to see all the amazing stuff Warren's done. I would draw your particular attention to the 3D stereo imaging, because that's me and Warren did that together. And right, that's it. Anything else? Any last words, public addresses before we do our breakout and just enjoy ourselves with conversation with members of Warren?
And to a very impressive production.
Oh, yes, and I should thank our assistants too. They were great. Yeah, they did a great job. Yeah, but you guys are the best, man. What a wonderful experience to show this all with you. So grateful. I wish I had more stories. Thank you. Okay, roll the video.